It went from being like really warm to now it's pouring down with rain and it's thunderstorms. It's 25 degrees. Oh my god. Autumn here is so whacked. Hey guys, it's Lita. Hope you're all amazing, and if you are not, I hope my video puts a smile on your beautiful faces and makes you laugh. For this video, we're going to be talking about something that we all love to do. We all love to absorb ourselves in, which is indulgences. And you probably can tell by the title of this video that this video is probably not going to be for everybody. And probably not this particular demographic. We're going to be talking about some manga. I'm going to be talking about 5 manga in particular. And we're going to be talking some smut. Now, I totally understand that this is not going to be for everybody. Now, when we say smut here, smut either means, yes, there'll be explicit scenes, there'll be, a bit of graphicness. I know quite a few people that love this type of demographic, with a bit of, romance, josei, shoujo, smut in there. Everybody likes a little bit of smut in their, romances. I do. I love reading, our realistic romances, our really innocent, fluffy high school reads. But, when we want something more adult, this is where I go to. If you enjoy a little bit of smut in your romance reads, then please continue watching this video as we get into it. I will mention how much smuttiness they have in there. The very first smutty read that I got right here, I have loved this one for a very, very long time. I need to read this author's other work called A Spell of Desire, which is another demon type one, and that is Midnight Secretary by Toma O Himai, how you say it? I first discovered this series through my local library, read volume 1, loved it, and then I remember going online and binge reading the whole thing, and it was the greatest thing on earth, and then I wanted it for myself. So this is about 7 volumes long, pretty short series, pretty easily to read before bed. And this is a vampire romance with smut. It made my soul so happy. It's focusing on a secretary named Kaya. Kaya is assigned to become the CEO of a massive company, and that is Kyohei. And when she first encounters him, she kind of walks in on a scene where he is there's a woman there. He's kind of over the top of her. Nothing too bad. I think in the scene he was kissing her, I think. And it's kind of a, awkward introduction. And from there, she finds out that he is a vampire. And then she becomes his secretary. She has to plan his, dates. Dinner dates. When we say dinner dates, not fully sucking blood, just he has to have his fill of blood in order to survive. Kyohei at first just, treats her that she's there for a responsibility. But, of course, as we go through the series, Kyohei, begins to have feelings for Kaya. And of course, Kaya actually, as a protagonist for this, she was so sweet. She reminded me of Momoko from Peach Heaven. Both having the same personality. They're just such sweet individuals. And Kaya, really does have a sense of principle and responsibility. That is one of the things I loved about her as the protagonist for this story. That, she wanted to just do her best for Kyohei, even though it's typical that she really does fall for him in the end. He takes her for granted for the lengths that Kaya goes for him. And, I like the build-up, I love, getting to the moment where Kyohei finally, realizes his feelings. And in terms of, smut level in here, it's I would put it as probably moderate smut level. Probably feel like you're in ecstasy when you get to the bit where, you know, like the sucking blood kind of bit. But yeah, I would say smut level for this is like moderate, but it's still pretty hot. But this is such a fantastic indulgence. If you like your smut factor, and I've loved this for about 6 or 7 years, this particular title. So Midnight Secretary is definitely a great one if you like, you know, smut, you demon, and romance all mixed into one beautiful hotness bag is what I would call it. Next up we have a pretty on the level of smut, it's pretty heavy, and this is a pretty popular one, and I did a unboxing for this back in December where I got sent the wrong item, and then I had to rebuy this box set off of Amazon, and that is Blackbird. Now this is a supernatural romance, and yeah, as I said, smut level is pretty high, it's heavy, and again, this is a title that probably could trigger some people. The plot honestly is going to speak for itself in terms of that, and I should say this is by Kanaho Sakurikuyoji. God, hopefully I probably butchered that name. This title has been around for such a long time. Again, I borrowed this from my library. It's 18 volumes and it's a good time. Oh my goodness. Like seriously, the drama level in this story is ridiculous. It is crazy because you think, how can the plot extend even out more, and somehow the story has managed to reel me back in. It has, and it mainly focuses on the two main protagonists, which is Misao and Kyo. And this is about Misao. She's 16 years old and, you know, wants to be a normal girl, have a normal boyfriend, all that when you're in high school. She is randomly attacked one day because she starts seeing demons, and then out of nowhere her childhood friend Kyo comes to save her, and then she finds out he is a demon known as a Tengu. Now Tengu's got like black wings, they have the beak of an eagle, and I love that particular type of demon, the supernatural world. Tengus are cool. And she finds out she is the bride of prophecy, the holy fruit. That means she is a virgin, and to demons that is a very delectable alluring. Kyo becomes very protective of her, and because as soon as Misao is able to start seeing yokai spirits and such, she becomes a massive target for the other demons and other demon clans that want to take her holy fruit, take her virginity basically. And they will be bestowed, you know, 3 powers. One is immortality. I can't remember the other 2, but yeah, they become all-powerful demons. And it also focuses on, you know, Misao and Kyo's love mainly. Misao and Kyo's love, like, I just love how much they love each other. Even though it is, as you could consider, a little bit toxic, we'll say, in certain parts within their relationship. When I say in certain parts, I mean that, you know, the lust that they have for one another, it overtakes. And say like if there's many scenes where these two will be bickering, arguing, and then the lust for one another kind of overcontinues. It's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey with Christian and Anna. Every time they have a mini argument, it's like kiss and make up with you know, either making out or sex. But yeah, it's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey, you know, kiss and make up for Kyo and Misao every time they have an argument. So just giving you a heads up on that. But in terms of like keeping you interested in terms of the story, because it's 18 volumes, it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed you know, learning about Kyo's responsibility as the leader of the Tengu clan. You get to learn more about his 8 main members that he has a part of his clan. There are particular 8 individuals that protect Kyo. Do like the story that extends out the character's backstory, and also learning about Kyo's backgrounds. I love the supernatural elements in the story, So in terms of the plot, it's very engaging, interesting, but with Misao and Kyo's relationship, it can get, you know, kiss and make up a lot. It's very definitely dramatic, but all at the same time, you know, I get swallowed up in it every time, how much they love each other. And of course, you know, you are brought to a satisfying ending. Since getting the box set of this, I have only read up to volume 10, and oh boy, I was reminded of how much there is to digest in this series. There is a lot to digest. Yeah, Blackbird has been around for so long. I feel bad if I couldn't give it a mention, but this is a story I always come back to. But as I said before, the smut level is heavy. It's in the high region, and you know, there's trigger warnings. So if you can look past that, if you're like someone like me, then definitely, you'll have a good time with Blackbird. Yes. Next up, we have, I guess, a more maybe realistic realism story here. Recently, you probably would have seen it in a haul. I finally got it. It's a series I've loved for ages, and it's by an author that I love her works. That is Maki and Joey, and everybody should know this one. This is Happy Marriage. It's 10 volumes long, and it is centered on about marriage, a arranged marriage. And this focuses on, she works 2 jobs as a hostess and in a regular office job to pay off her father's debts. And all of a sudden, she's roped into her CEO's office, which is the grandfather. And the grandfather makes a proposition to her. If she marries his grandson, which is Hokuto, the CEO will pay off all of her debts due to Chiwai's grandmother when Hokuto's grandfather was in the war. Hokuto's grandfather felt obliged to Chiwai's grandmother because she was a nurse and took care of him. So this is why he has put this proposition to her. And of course, Chiwai agrees, and Chiwai and Hokuto get married. And then it focuses on the process of, you know, the strangers at first, when they get to know each other, when they, you know, build up feelings for one another. And this is put in the josei demographic, and in terms of, I guess, like smut level, it's pretty tame. It's pretty tame. Nothing like Blackbird or Midnight Secretary level. No, this is probably the tamest out of all of my selections. If you just like a bit of smut on the, you know, the sad, not too much. Mainly this title is loved by a lot of people like me who love, you know, it's taken on from the aspect of marriage and what it's like, especially for a arranged marriage. And I just love Chiwaya and Hokuto's relationship as it grows. You know, Chiwaya, I love her as a protagonist. She is a bit, at times, a bit wishy-washy. And it's kind of predictable that she will fall for Hokuto. But at the same time, she's a pretty resilient woman. And I love that about her. And she's a crybaby as well. And it's kind of cute, actually. You know, of her random blurts out towards Hokuto. He's just stunned because Hokuto, you know, has never really dealt with a woman as such as Chiwai. She's definitely not Hokuto's type. And Hokuto is really opened up a lot to a lot of things to do with women and how relationships are, because, you know, he's pretty much closed himself off from the aspect of life. And I love how this, you know, impacts Hokuto's character and builds up, you know, we get to see the nice, kind Hokuto. I love their bantering and bickering over stupid things. It's hysterical. And it is a pretty satisfying read. Pretty really satisfying. Again, people might not like it that, you know, how Hokuto treats Chiwaya at first in the beginning, and probably maybe at times, you know, how he's cold towards her. Kind of what comes with these type of stories, you know, especially with, you know, we get our male individuals, you know, like in Midnight Secretary. You know, how I was saying before that Kyohei, you know, takes Kaya for granted, and Hokuto takes Chiwaya for granted. That's what you stumble into when you read these type of stories. But again, that sort of thing doesn't bother me. These are indulgences for me, and happy marriage is a happy time. Next up we have a more, again, demon type supernatural romance. This is a pretty well known one. I've loved this one, again, like Midnight Secretary, for years, and that is Demon Love Spell, and this is by Mayo Shinjo. Come to think of it, I actually haven't looked up any more works by this author. That reminds me. Demon Love Spell is about 6 volumes long, so again, like Midnight Secretary, you could easily finish that before bed, and I have many times. It's always so satisfying. In terms of smut level, it's on the same level as Midnight Secretary. Moderate. Probably put it a little bit higher, just a little bit. There's a few, you know, explicit scenes in this. So just the warning for you guys. And this focuses on Shrine Maiden Maiko. She, you know, wants to fulfill her duty as her family runs a shrine. She wants to fulfill her duty wholeheartedly to be the next shrine maiden of her family's shrine. And she hates demons, she despises them. And when she runs into, well, succubus, Kagura, that all changes. Or in this case, because he's a male succubus, he thrives off women's passion and love. That is what feeds him. And when Kagura tries to put the moves on Maiko, she puts a spell on him, turning into like this chibi form, which I'm going to show you guys because it's actually pretty cute. So he shrinks to this eeny weeny bit small. And it's pretty hilarious because, you know, she's the only one that can, you know, undo the spell and then redo the spell. It's a funny dynamic in the story of how Maiko puts up with Kagura. And of course, Kagura being a succubus, he feels so, you know, now bound, now being in that form, being under that spell. The main thing with Maiko and Kagura's relationship that's the biggest strain is that, you know, because of his nature, because, you know, he feeds off of women's passion and love, you know, is there any room for him to even actually love a woman? Because, you know, Maiko thinks that she's just one of his many victims, and that's the biggest strain that they have to work through during this 6-volume read. And, you know, what can I say about Kagura? You know, he is a full-on succubus in his nature, but, you know, of course, towards the end, things change. They do, and I just love Maiko. She just does not tolerate any of Kagura's behavior at all. Of course, you know, she falls for him. Of course, she is drawn in like the others, but, you know, it takes Maiko a while. Demon Love Spell is a very alluring read. So if you know, maybe looking for something with a succubus in it, yeah, this would be for you. And as I said, smut level is moderate and a bit higher than the Midnight Secretary level that I said, just a little bit higher. The last smutty recommendation and favourite that I have for you guys is one that I recently talked about in one of my wrap-ups during Loha Lee's April Manga Challenge. But I want to give it a mention again because it was really good, and that is Peach Heaven. And this is 13 volumes long and absolutely loved it. This is a romance comedy though, and in terms of smut level, yeah, I'd put it in the high region because, you know, there's a lot of different references in terms of, you know, bringing up about like sex and stuff, and also talk about the story. So the story focuses on Momoko. She is paying off her father's debts that he left behind, and also paying off the hospital bills for her sickly mother that's in hospital. She does this by writing erotic novels, and she takes after her father. She becomes the replacement writer for her father, who was known as George Ariha. Balancing normal school and writing these novels is pretty taxing on her. And then one day she comes upon role model Ramura, who is, you know, having a little bit of a go at a teacher, kissing and stuff. And also Ramara sees her and he finds out that she is known as George Arahat and writes erotic novels. And so that he won't start spreading it around, he says, you have to become my slave and I will not tell anybody. When I say, oh, she becomes his slave, not sexual slave. All he really ever asks of her is like little favors. These little favors are really nothing. Honestly, the main one that she ends up doing for him is making lunch for him every day. That's all he ever asks of her. Ramara is a bit of a, you know, womanizer, playboy, and that is part of his nature. So people might not like that about his character while reading. And again, honestly, that sort of thing really doesn't bother me. I found him actually quite hysterical in his actions. It was just so funny. I found them so funny. In terms of what I said about Midnight Secretary's protagonist Kaya, she was definitely similar to Momoko. Momoko is just so sweet. She, first, you know, writing these novels that she does, you know, it is out of, you know, to help out her family. But through the course of things, she really begins to fall in love with literature itself and writing these novels. And I absolutely loved the moments where any scenario that happens, she would take that idea from real life and she'd be like, oh my God, I can use this for a story. I loved those scenes. They were hilarious. In terms of what happens with Momoko and Ramara's relationship, of course, there's, you know, he's being a model, you know, there's this disconnect, you know, they don't think that they can work because they live in two different worlds. He's a player, and also Momoko ends up having trust issues with Ramara, and I was pretty surprised towards the end of the series. It actually ends up being a really satisfying ending, which I was not expecting, because the series goes into out of high school into graduation, college scene. I wasn't expecting that, and then it goes beyond that. And this was just such a such a good time. I felt inspired to go back to this title because Shae Geeks Out talked about it in one of her videos, and I remembered this title. I'd read like the first 5 volumes years ago, and then I just didn't continue. And then I ended up buying the whole digital set, because you can only get this digitally from Kodansha. And I just, you hooked me, girl. I was like so hooked on this romance comedy. It was, as you said, it is a very, very good time. And yes, it made my smutty soul happy. Peach Heaven, I think, had the more interesting dynamic out of this list in terms of its plot, you know, having a main girl writing erotic novels, and, you know, for the good benefits at first, but then, you know, gradually becomes to love what she does. Just funny, you know, smut level is good in there, and yeah, I really, really loved it. So, you know, if you guys want some rom-com with a bit of smut, Peach Heaven is for you. There you have it, guys. Those are just 5 of my favorite smut romance reads. Also, you know, you can take these as recommendations if you would like, but yeah, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is not a genre or a thing, I think, in manga, in terms of romance manga, that people don't really go for, which is fine. I have to thank Shae for the inspiration for this video. I was actually going to leave this video to next week, but I thought, you know what? Nah, we're gonna talk about indulgence. We're gonna talk about indulgence in this video. Feel free to comment down below what are some of your indulgence reads. It really doesn't have to be about shoujo genre. Any genre you consider for yourself a indulgence, and what is it that you seek within that indulgence. It can be manga or anime. Either way, I'll be interesting to see what other people's indulgences are. It'd be funny to hear, you know, my indulgence is mecha, my indulgence is shonen. I had a lot of fun talking about a bit of indulgence in this video, but yes, all the links are down below as usual, guys, and I'm gonna try next week to at least have maybe a couple of videos out is the plan. I can't promise anything, but I got a couple of ideas that I would love to give a crack at. So, but either way, I will see you all next week. Bye. bye-bye for now. And have happy smutty souls. Bye!